Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It has been quite a weekend. As I doing this a little bit later than I intended, but I spent the whole day building chicken houses, repairing a chicken house. As you can see in the background, my wife and youngin decided to decorate the tree. Pretty awesome. Um, Looks pretty beautiful there in the window. But the news just keeps on getting more interesting. It's obvious to me, and I think anyone who spent any time on Navy vessels, also spent any time with Navy vessels that are capable of doing boarding operations and seizure operations, which every vessel is capable of that in the Navy now. From destroyers that I've been on, fast frigates I was on, um, absolutely, of course, aircraft carriers could send a helo over with a raiding party also. So any Navy vessel can board a large boat, small boat, doesn't matter. But boats with only a 6-man crew, yeah, we definitely could board those vessels quite easily to make sure that we have proof that there is actually contraband on it. Never in our history have we just blown boats out of the water on the assumption that they have contraband on them. We always, in my 20 plus years in the Navy, we never blew any boat out of the water if we suspected it had drug operations on it. You know, I've been on ships that were involved in drug operations, running around South America, in the Caribbean, and VBSS, also, in civilian terms, we'd say boarding and inspection and seizure operations, where we go over to the boat or to the ship, and we would send a crew over of armed crew members and go over, and they would stop a vessel, secure the engines, check all the holds, check, the holds meaning all the places you can store things in the ship to make sure that there isn't contraband. If we find contraband, we'd seize it. We'd arrest the folks on board that were responsible for it. If there weren't any contraband, we send them on their way. Oh, P. Diddle, you got some good jokes, huh? Hilarious. Anyway, it is obvious that we are way out of bounds. Yeah. Right now, and hello there, Mary Henderson. Right now, we have evidence that this first boat that they blew out of the water, the survivors were clinging to the remnants of the boat for 45 minutes before they went back and slaughtered them. And there is no way in heck that little boat, was of any threat to a large ship like that. Could have taken over the search and rescue swimmers along with some armed folks. If you really thought that these guys without shirts on clinging to the sinking vessel, if you really thought that they were a danger, you could run over with armed folks and your search and rescue swimmers, grab them, interrogated them. But we didn't do that. It's just never before something that we've done. So, yeah, this exactly. You're right, Mercoid. It's flat out against the law what they did. And Carter, I take it that you must be one of my 7th grade students. Asking me to say 6, 7. Hilarious. Anyway, not to be distracted. So, 45 minutes, these folks were in the water. There's no excuse, no matter how flimsy you can give me. they were trying to flip the boat over. Yeah, this boat is not huge, but it's also not small enough like a canoe just to flip it over. Even when I've been sailing before, taken lessons in sailing, um, and it's hard as heck to get a sailboat, a small sailboat made for just one or two people. It's very hard to get it flipped back over when you flip it. Yeah, it can be done. That's a sailboat. A huge boat with with one or two large outboard motors. You're not flipping that thing over after it's been blasted by the U.S. Navy. No, there's no danger from it. So they have no excuse for not going to pick up the survivors. But to back up before that, there's no excuse for us to be shooting boats out of the water, right? All we have to do is go board these vessels. If there's contraband, pick it up, burn it, destroy it, gather evidence, and take back the crew and prosecute them. That's what we should be doing. But nope, this is all about regime change, right? This POTUS wants to be a war president. He thinks he can get away with anything if we go to war. And that our oil companies can get down there and take advantage of all the oil in Venezuela because they have the largest oil fields in the world. So that's all this is about. In the meantime, we've got farmers here in the state of Kentucky, in Hardin County, that could really use some help because we have sunk the cost and the price for soybeans. No one's buying them from us because they're a tariff war. Argentina has control of the market now, selling everything to folks that we used to sell to. And we used to sell a lot of soybeans to China. We don't now. Argentina does. We bailed out Argentina $40 billion, handed over our soybean market, and now we're letting them flood our market with their beef while our ranchers and farmers are struggling to make ends meet with cattle this year. Come on. It should be about us first, our farmers first, not all these billions we're spending now on this war that we're kicking off. And this is just a travesty. We have better places to spend our resources. But I guess Kentuckians, we just don't mean as much as the oil fields down there in Venezuela. We don't mean as much as Argentina does when we give them $40 billion in aid during a shutdown. Let's just don't forget that. They want you to take your eye off the ball. They're giving us all kinds of smoke and mirrors about this. Well, it is nothing more than an excuse to try to do a regime change. Yes, Jim, I have an idea of how many people die in this country every year because of drugs, but we have to make sure that we're not playing jokes. All right? Venezuela doesn't give nearly as much drug traffic to our country as other countries do. Venezuela has so much money that they're making on oil. They don't need to bother with starting a war with us over drugs. So this is a farce, absolute farce. And whose fault is it that people die every year because of drugs? It's our pharmaceutical companies that pushed this epidemic on us of the opioid crisis, and then got people hooked on that and they look for something else. So I'm not buying the smoke and mirrors. Yeah, I'm Mercoid. You're right about why they killed survivors. Yep. I have to agree. Yep. So anyway, I think in the comments there, I can see everybody's having a good old time with you. Yeah. So, guys, we've got to require more of our government. Our farmers deserve better. Our nation deserves better. We deserve to have more money pumped back into our infrastructure and our economy rather than letting people make money off of another big war. All right, y'all. Have a great night. We are our brother's keeper. We're our sister's keeper. We love our neighbors as ourselves here in Kentucky. God bless you, corazon. Have a great one. And happy birthday, Zaza High RN. All right, have a good one. And of course, Jim, I was complaining about this before Trump came into office.